Hello and welcome to Ginny's Gin live stream. We've been doing this throughout the basically the shelter in place, the COVID-19. So we do have something to thank COVID-19 for. Is it's actually got us to start doing these cocktail live streaming, and we've been having a lot of fun doing it. Rob did mention that we are going to eventually run out of cocktails because there's only so many, and we thought, well, maybe we would start inviting some of our local bartenders to come and shake things up for us as well. We would wear a mask, obviously, or maybe we do it outside, but that was a thought. So today, I'm Ginny of Ginny's Gin, and my husband Rob is going to join us, and he's going to make a cocktail. Together with our dear friends Amy and Jeff Close, we founded Ginny's Gin a few years ago. Today, I am going to make a Singapore Sling. And the nice thing about cocktails is there's so much history behind them, some more than others obviously, and sometimes that history gets a little bit lost as well, or it gets changed. And what's funny about this cocktail is there's no two places that you'll go to and you'll get the exact same Singapore Sling. And you know, there's historians that sort of quibble over when this first cocktail appeared and where it appeared and what have you. So the Singapore Sling that I'm going to make is from the Long Bar at Raffles Hotel in Singapore. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of my history as well, because so let me go back to Raffles Hotel. So during the height of the British Empire, Singapore was one of the British colonies, and so the guys, they would all hang out on the veranda or in the bar and watch the ladies come in. And back in the day, so this was in 1915 when the cocktail was first introduced. Back in the day, women, or certainly ladies, were not supposed to imbibe. They were not supposed to enjoy alcoholic beverages in public. So there was this young bartender, his name was Niam Tong Boon, and he thought that if he put together this rather nice looking cocktail, sort of a pink hue, with fruit juice and what have you, that maybe people wouldn't think that the ladies were actually drinking hard alcohol and they were just having a nice refreshing drink. So he came up with the cocktail. As it happens, it's a very boozy cocktail. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of alcohol in there. So this was 1915, so according to Raffles Hotel, that was when they first made it. But there is this cocktail historian called David Wondrich, and he says that actually it dates back to 1897. I think he referred to something about the Singapore Cricket Club. And they were talking about it as a sort of a hangover cure. Much like the Corpse Reviver, the Singapore Sling was supposed to be a hangover cure. So anyway, I'm going to go with the Raffles Hotel simply because that's where it's been made. I think it's 1950, so yeah, it's been going for well over 100 years now. So the idea of a sling originally was it was basically sugar, hot or cold water, nutmeg, and then any kind of liquor. So whether that was gin or bourbon or whiskey or brandy, and that was a sling. And the word actually comes from the German, which is schlingen, which means to swallow. And I'm not going to go there, but that's where the Singapore Sling comes from. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So so this started in 1915 when women couldn't drink at the bar. Fast forward to, July 1996, and I happen to be in Singapore. So the funny thing about me is that for the longest time, I have always kept a diary. And so this is actually it's an English one. This is for 1996. And my diaries were always fairly small, but there's a lot of writing in it. And I'm glad that I have it because, you start to forget after a while. And so I can go back and see what I was doing. As we had children and there were more going on and there were, 3 people to worry about, 4 people to worry about, my diaries got bigger and bigger, and they're more like calendars really now. But if I ever get into a pickle and I need to be able to say where I was on a particular day, I can go back and actually have it in writing. So, and I've kept all of my passports as well from all the travels that I did. Of course, you don't see a British passport these days, but we're going to go back to having a British passport, I would assume. So that's my British passport. It was an EU passport when I had my stamp from Singapore and Hong Kong. So this was a trip that was a few months. what I did was I flew into Hong Kong and spent some time there, then went to Singapore, ended up in Malaysia and also Indonesia. I did quite a bit of diving in Indonesia on the Manado coast, and then Thailand as well. So it was a full several months, and it was sort of a kind of a reset button between my last job and what was going to happen in my next chapter, which ended me up actually in the Napa Valley in 1995 or 96. So I am just going to just look at this. So it was Thursday, the 18th of July, and it says high tea at Raffles, and then I had dinner at Compass Rose, which is on the 70th floor of the Westin Stamford Hotel, and then I had cocktails at Harry's Bar. So obviously I was, really into cocktails even back then, and then I went back for my Singapore Sling at the Long Bar because one has to do that, of course. And then, it was a backpacking trip, so, I was kind of roughing it, but a lot of the advice was take more money and less things, less clothes, so that's what I did. And the only sort of really posh part of the trip was that I took the Orient Express from Bangkok. I went from Singapore to Bangkok, and that was really a pretty impressive memory that I have of that, obviously. Anyway, I'm rambling, but that's just a little history of me. So the Singapore Sling, let's see. Okay, we're going to start with Ginny's gin, of course. We're going to do 2 ounces of Ginny's gin. There we go. Right. Who would have thought I'd ended up being in the gin business? Who'd imagine? Right, honey? 2 ounces of gin, and then half an ounce of cherry brandy. I've already measured that out. The thing about the Singapore Sling, as I say, is that there's no 2 recipes that are the same. Everybody claims that, well, this is the original and what have you, but anyway. So cherry brandy, that is half an ounce of the cherry brandy, and then a 1/4 ounce of the Dom Benedictine. You've got to love the monks, haven't you, for making these incredible beverages. Okay, so 1/4 ounce of that. There we go. That brings a sort of little herbal aspect. It cuts the sugar and everything because there's a bit of sugar in this. Lots of different, it just brings a bit more depth to everything. There we go. That's the Benedictine. And then Cointreau. You could use triple sec if you want to. Basically, it's orange flavored. So the Cointreau is also 1/4 ounce. There we go. Okay. Using a lot of French stuff today, it seems. And then unsweetened pineapple juice. The recipe I have is 4 ounces of unsweetened pineapple juice, and I already measured that out. So there goes the pineapple juice. Excellent. This is great for a hot day as well, obviously. And then half an ounce of lime, and that's about half a lime that you're going to do. You're going to get about half an ounce of juice out of the lime. It depends on the size of the lime and how juicy it is and what have you.
Maybe 2 of those.
But no, this is looking pretty good, I think. I did it earlier, and it was the ones that I got. Well, okay, so there's your half an ounce of lime juice. There we go. I'll just wash my hands here. And then
it's a big drink.
Yeah, it's a big glass. And then it calls for grenadine. I'm not a huge fan because it's very red and sugary and what have you. So I'm not going to use as much. I'm going to do about 1/4 ounce. It's really for the color because whenever you look at whenever you look at a Singapore Sling, it's fairly red. But I'm not going to go quite as red as that. I'm just going to do a little bit less than that. But again, you can play with this yourself and decide, that's the beauty of making cocktails. I like it sweeter than that. I like it more tart than that. So entirely up to you. So I'm going to do 1/4 ounce. There we go. There's the red. And a dash of Angostora's bitters. I'll put that on later. A nice good dash.
Whoa.
There we go. Oh no, I like that.
That's 3 dashes.
Well, it calls for a good, in the recipe. Okay, so I'm going to put some ice in here. I'm going to shake it up and then strain it into an ice-filled Collins glass. They put it in what's called like a hurricane glass, which is sort of rather sexy shape. We don't have a hurricane glass, but you could put it in a Pilsner glass or anything that's tall. It's supposed to be tall, basically. Let's get this. Yeah, those traveling days were kind of fun, I have to say. And as our children start disappearing off to college, there'll be a little bit more traveling in our future, I hope. Right? Oh, special ones. Let's do a bit of those. Okay, and so give it a really good shake, because what you want is that nice white froth on the top. It's the pineapple juice that gives it that froth. So shake it long enough so that it comes out nice and frothy. And that, see the color? You know, I could put more of the Rose's grenadine in there and it would make it redder, but I actually really like this color.
Pineapple froths a lot.
Yeah.
Like almost like an egg white.
Yeah. Okay. And voila. I'll just drain that in there. You don't even need to strain it, do I? Look at the color of that. Yum. Keep going.
Yeah, because the strainer, well, you get the froth.
Yeah, let's get the froth. Let's just pour it in there. Here you go. Get the extra cube in there too. Ah, now we're up to the top. Perfect. So I did this earlier. I just cut up fresh pineapple and then maraschino cherries. These are the Luxardo. They are more expensive, obviously, than the other ones, but they do taste better. You can also make your own, of course. So yeah, there's the garnish, the pineapple and the maraschino. And there it is. The Singapore Sling. Cheers.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, can't wait to drink it. I'm going to get it out of your way. All right. Take it away, Rob.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. So, Ginny wanted me to make a drink with the name of a place, like London Fog, and there were several that I looked at that I just couldn't really get my arms around loving any of them. So, I always wanted to make the Clover Club, so it's a raspberry drink. But the Clover Clubs did start in Philadelphia, which is a place, had a club called the Clover Club. Clover Club, you can't say that 4 times. And this was a club in Philadelphia that was like a men's only club, and it was like the bankers and the politicians and the business leaders, and it was a private club. And this drink is a pre-prohibition drink, but it was one that we know the origins of. It was absolutely invented in that club. And then the drink disappeared through prohibition. Now there's a lady, Julie Reiner, who's a bartender, and she has a bar in Brooklyn in the same name, Clover Club, and they've made this drink famous again. So, with that, what we are going to do is we're going to juice one of these beautiful Meyer lemons to come up with a ½ ounce of lemon juice. So we'll just kind of do that first, since that's the little trickier part of the drink. And like Jenny, these are really juicy lemons, so that ½ ounce is going to happen with the half of a lemon. There it is. So ½ ounce. And then we're going to do also ½ ounce of Dolan Vermouth, which I just kind of put in a little bottle to make it easier to dole it out.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then we're going to go with a ½ ounce of our fresh raspberry syrup. And so the raspberry syrup is 2 parts, or I did 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water, and 1 cup of fresh raspberries. And I just used a little immersion blender and just blended the heck out of it and then strained it. And I was so surprised at how many seeds are in raspberries. So then now we're going to go with the ½ ounce of the raspberry syrup. And then we're going to do an 1.5 ounces of Ginny's gin. I'm starting to catch on to the technique where you hold the shot glass this way, so then you can dump it. And that just leaves us with the egg white. So, always to make our egg whites easy, and this calls for a 1/4 ounce of egg white, which is about 1/4 of an egg. And so when you're doing egg whites always in a squirt bottle, it makes them really, really easy to kind of handle and to measure. So I know the recipe is a 1/4 ounce of egg white, but I don't know, I'm just using just a tiny bit more because I really want to get that beautiful froth on there. So I'm doing about 1/3. And then we are going to do what's called dry shake. I'm just gonna put these ingredients back.
Those are all yours, aren't
Yep.
they? Okay.
We're gonna give a dry shake because egg whites froth at lower temperature significantly better. Everything's in the pool, right? We got the ounce and a half of gin, yeah. Lemon juice, remove, raspberry syrup. So we're gonna give it a good little shake. It's so weird without the ice, it's quiet.
It looks like we're both making pink drinks today.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. And then now we're gonna put in our, I like to use 1 large ice cube, 2 small. Because I read somewhere that that's the best way to get your chilling done and your frothing.
Get your frothing done.
Yep. I've got my frosted glass, and then we're just gonna give this to get it down to temperature.
And we should, reiterate that all the glasses should be kept in the freezer prior to making the cocktail so that it keeps everything nice and cold. And you can keep ice in there too.
Oh yeah, baby.
That's beautiful.
It's a little short in the glass. Come on. We just don't have the tiny, tiny glasses. Okay. Then,
Gorgeous.
yeah, it's very pretty. And then to be garnished with a raspberry,
There we go.
that is the Clover Club. Cheers, everybody, to that.
Excellent. Very cool.
Oh, we're gonna
Okay,
cheers.
pretty. Yeah, we're gonna cheers. So try and stay cool, everyone. It's pretty hot out here right now. And we'll see you next week. I think yes, we will. So we're taking our eldest back to college for a slightly different experience than he was expecting, but we'll get him there and get him settled in.
In a couple days, I'm gonna be going, oh no, what the heck are we gonna make next week?
Yeah, exactly.
After a certain amount of weeks.
Yeah, no, we'll figure it out. Anyway, guys, cheers and happy weekend, happy Friday. I'll see you next week. Cheers, honey.
Turn it like this.
There you go. I'm going to take mine out. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, that is good. Cheers.
Okay. See you next week.
Some people